Hi everybody, this is a lesson on physical activity and the importance of it in elementary schools. It's specifically geared towards grades 3 to 5 to helping children increase their physical activity, but also identifying ways to involve children in their own physical health, the goals to improving it, and understanding why it's important. So let's find out, what does it mean to be physically active? Physical activity is basically just any bodily movement produced by skeletal muscles that requires energy expenditure. So in short, it's just the way that you move your body and the energy that you use to move it. So there's tons of different physical activities. So as a class, I'd like to go on the board and come up with ways that you can be physically active at home and school, alone, or with friends and family. And we can think of ways that you are already active now, or ways that you can think of being active even if you don't participate in them. So now that we have everything on the board and we kind of learned about each other and the ways that we're active here, at home, at our friends' houses, we need to stay motivated. We need to make sure that we're keeping up with our physical activity and doing what we can to stay healthy. So one of the ways that we can do that is choosing a variety of activities. So when we look at the board and see what all of our classmates came up with, the ways that we're active by bike riding or doing gymnastics, going to hockey practice, playing in the neighborhood with our friends, those are all ways to stay active, but using it in a variety of ways so that you don't get bored or you don't get burnt out or sick of something. You also want to make sure that you're doing it with your friends and family. There's certain things that you can absolutely do on your own, but it's a lot more fun when you do it in a group or with friends. And by motivating your friends and family, you're also helping them take care of their health too. One good idea is to reward yourself when you reach a goal and to kind of track your progress. So if you think that you're not really being physically active enough, it's a good idea to set a goal. Maybe instead of 1 day of activity this week, I'm going to try for 2 days. And maybe instead of a half an hour, I'm going to try for 60 minutes. You also want to make sure that you plan and follow through with what you want to do. So it's easy to say next week I'm going to ride my bike for 20 minutes after school. Then the day comes and you just want to watch TV. So try to plan that day to make sure that you're doing it. So we talked about some of the ways that we're physically active now, whether it be dance lessons or sports teams or just general play at home. But let's talk about, with our friends and kind of our neighbors next to us, what's something new you'd like to try? So it could be alone or with family or friends, something that you heard somebody else mention or you've always thought about wanting to do. So maybe we'll just take a couple minutes and we can kind of discuss something that you're really interested in. So now that we kind of talked about the ways that we're active and the different ways that we can be active and think about all the aspects of our life in which physical activity is required, whether it's, walking around the yard outside at recess or walking down the halls to lunch, to even playing on a sports team, it affects your health in a lot of different ways. Not just, feeling good and getting fit, but also your emotional health. So you want to look at your physical health and your emotional health when we're thinking about physical activity. So physical health, it's going to help you in a lot of different ways. It's going to help your general well-being, your social health, your mental health, kind of you as a person. So being active is going to lower your risk of obesity, diabetes, cancer, osteoporosis, arthritis, all of these sort of serious illnesses that can carry through in your entire life. So some of these things that can be prevented with physical activity can go on and carry it through to childhood, when you guys are teenagers and even adults. So it's really important to establish these good habits now so that it's not something you have to deal with later. Having high blood pressure can have a big effect on your weight, and it can have an effect on the oxygen levels that your body receives, especially with your arteries, if they're getting clogged. You also want to, be careful with diabetes. It's very common now, unfortunately, for diabetes to develop in childhood and grow into something that's like a lifelong illness if it's not tackled properly. So these are some serious things that can happen just from not exercising and taking care of ourselves. And that's something that we want to make sure that even though we're healthy kids now, that we're taking care of ourselves so that in the future, these things don't happen. In addition to these like sort of serious illnesses and diseases, it's also important because physical activity kind of increases our endurance, makes us stronger, makes us healthier. There's different types of endurance that you can have. You can have cardiorespiratory endurance, so that's kind of supplying oxygen throughout your body while you're doing physical activity. You might notice you get out of breath going up the stairs, and maybe you don't have the best cardiorespiratory endurance if you can't make it up the stairs without kind of heavy breathing. Also, muscular strength, so you want to think about when you're lifting weights and, increasing that ability. You're building up the endurance of your muscles. And also like something like flexibility, bending and moving your joints and sort of this full range of motion and being able to, stretch fully. These are some things that definitely help with physical activity. But in addition to that, we got to think of our emotional health, our health in our brain and our bodies. And some of the things that have to go along with that is that your brain is stimulated when you do activity. It's really good for you because it increases the blood circulation and increases the oxygen throughout your body, as well as the glucose. So a lot of people, when they feel better when they exercise, it's a real thing. Their body releases these endorphins that they basically just make you feel good. They make you feel really good about yourself. And that can happen even with a small amount of activity. In addition to that, it makes you feel accomplished. So if you're kind of having you're bummed and you're not having, you're having a kind of a hard time in life, or, some things are just not easy for you right now. Maybe you just feel like you're stuck in this cycle of watching TV, and even getting up for 5 or 10 minutes is going to make you feel good. You're going to say, wow, I did that. I motivated myself. I can do it. So it's important, not only for you to have strong muscles and a lower risk of diseases, but also so that you feel good about yourself and that your brain is stimulated and you feel, like you can do anything and you're accomplished. So while any type of exercise is good and any type of physical activity is good, you really should be aiming for 60 minutes or more per day, at least 3 days a week. So you might want to take baby steps at first, especially when you're setting your goals, but at the end of it, this is ideal. You really should be trying to aim for that. You always want to include a warm-up and a cool-down. This is just for your body's safety and making sure that you have 5 or 10 minutes of reduced activity. This helps your body to kind of go back to the state of non-exercising, and it's better for your muscles and your bones. Some of the activities you can do, like we already discussed with our friends, running, tag, riding a bike, those are all aerobic activities. Those are really good for your heart and your lungs, your blood flow, your muscles. Muscle strengthening activities such as gymnastics, climbing trees, or playing in a jungle gym. And then you also have some bone strengthening activities, hopping, skipping, jumping, and running. Those are good too. So even though we talked about small activities such as jumping compared to activities like running make a big difference. Now, sometimes we want to talk about that there's roadblocks to activity. So maybe you guys want to exercise, but you feel like you can't because it's raining outside, or maybe your parents don't feel good, or maybe you're at your sister's dance class. So we need to talk about what are some roadblocks that stop us from exercising or stop us from doing physical activity? Is it our own laziness? Is that we don't have anyone to take us to the park? Is it because we want to watch TV? So on the board, let's talk about some ways we can get around those roadblocks. So let's think about roadblocks and then think about ways that we can get over them. So if it's raining out, what's an activity that we can do if we can't go outside and play on the monkey bars in our backyard? One thing that we can do is these videos that are on YouTube. So these are called Go Noodle. There's tons of different songs and videos, and they're ways that You don't need a lot of personal space, just a couple feet around you. You can do it with your class, or you can do it alone or at home with your friends. And it kind of gets your body moving. So this is an example of that. So that's just one example of how you could use a video to try and watch something and get yourself moving, whether it's jumping up and down or stretching or singing and dancing to a song, get your blood pumping and your endorphins running. That'll make you feel good about yourself, and it's increasing your activity. So it's time, now that we did that, to breathe and to think. How often are you actually physically active during the week? So we talked about the ways that you're already active. Are you on a sports team? Are you dancing? Do you help to walk your dog at home? But also, how can you improve your activity level and track it? Let's see how active we can get. So some of the ways that we can do that are through health behavior contracts and activity charts. So activity charts can be utilized to track every day how many activities you're doing or what you're doing and for how long. And so that could be something as simple as I went for a 10-minute walk around my neighborhood, to I played basketball with my friends for 20 minutes, or I took a half-hour dance class. You could also write a health behavior contract that kind of says, I will dance every day this week for 15 minutes. So these activities help to kind of keep you working towards a goal that you can set for yourself, and you can keep track of it, and it gives you a better idea of where you're at and where you need to be. So we are going to set some weekly and monthly goals to work towards, and we'll be creating our own activity charts to track how we're doing in our goals. So think about where you're at now and where you want to be, and we can utilize our charts and work around that. You can decorate them how you'd like, and we'll check in weekly and monthly. So if the whole class can meet their activity goals for the whole month, we will have a fun Friday afternoon in our class where we can play board games and Mad Libs and listen to music. This is going to require the work of all of us, so let's work together and encourage each other to do these things. So some of the ways that we can encourage each other in class are possibly taking an extra lap around the school as we walk to lunch, or going outside for a lesson and doing a walking lesson where we walk and talk and maybe talk about things like science or social studies that can apply to the outdoors. Also, we can possibly do videos in which we're able to get on our feet and do those kind of things. So this will require the work of all of us, that we can start with baby steps and hopefully meet our end goal.